Today I'm going to talk about from feelings and perceptions to data-driven decisions with SAP User Experience Management by Knoa. Good afternoon. My name is Jesse Burnell and I work with Knoa software. I've been working with SAP for the past 13 years. I've done multiple implementations for my past company in the SAP space. I was a user of the SAP Knoa experience and used this within my company to drive many different data-driven decisions across our SAP landscape. The first thing I want to talk about today is how to lower TCO and drive ROI. The other item I'm going to talk a little bit about is how to remove that noise from the conversation. So many of you probably have noise in your company. People are asking for, can I get the system faster? All of the different questions that you get day in and day out. Most of you probably feel like you're in this pool of water and you're slowly drowning. So I'm going to show you why data is so important to help you in your SAP landscape. First, I'm going to talk about TCO, and then second, I'm going to talk about ROI. Most of you, I assume, know what ROI is, return of investment, or TCO, which is total cost of ownership. If you don't have a formula for either one, obviously you can find many formulas for both. What I want to talk a little bit on the TCO side is how some data points may be missing to truly understand your total cost of ownership. I want to start off first to make sure everyone understands a little bit about the user adoption process within SAP. So most of you have gone through an implementation with SAP, and what you'll see here is that over a 12-month period, 18-month, obviously for me it was many years to go live. You'll go live, you have a group of consultants that work with you, and you'll see here on the slide with the go live, how important, you get there and you do all this training and education and you have the data to help drive some decisions. You go live, the consultants go away, and what you start to see on here is this line, and this line starts to show a degradation in user performance. And the reason that occurs is you don't have all of the resources you had at go live with a focus on training and education and making sure your user's experience is what you wanted. You can see as you go through 18 to 24 months, you start to see change to business process where maybe the SAP implementation you put in, the way SAP works doesn't necessarily match the business process that you have within your company. So again, without the data, it's hard to drive some of these decisions and know where the pain is for your users. So when I talk about some of the use cases today with Knoa, I want to make sure you hear the importance of the data and the knowledge to be able to drive some key decisions. So here I want to make sure this is pointed out, end user performance degrades without continuous training. So again, after go live, if you don't keep this focus of training in front of your users, it's going to continue to go down. Not because the users don't know what to do. Most of the time it's because of attrition or because those people who are your power users or super users are being promoted into another position within the company. So the importance here again, the data. So moving into lowering TCO and driving ROI. So with the TCO, if you think about total cost of ownership, the items that are important there is you start to think about my vendor costs. So how much does it cost for my licensing? How much does it cost for support and maintenance year over year? The other things that normally come in from a help desk or a service desk is how much does the ticket cost to support that application or environment. So if you start to think about SAP and what is my true TCO for SAP, you may have some of this data. So it's easy to go and look at your contracts and understand the cost for SAP is X. I know I have this many support issues and tickets, and you can start to look at what is my cost of SAP. I think what most of you have missing in that calculation is what is the user's experience. So when you think about user's experience, how much time are they waiting between screen to interact with SAP? How much time are they idling? So maybe they're telling you right now that I spend all day in SAP. So we know when we go live, there's a lot of pain and people will come back and say, I'm in SAP all day, IT's not listening, you don't understand. So if you start to think about, do I really understand the cost? You have to start to think about maybe some of those hidden costs that you don't have. The user time idling, the user time waiting on a screen, the user time interacting with the interface. Maybe there's items you could do to invest to make that experience better, but again, to have the total cost, you're missing some key data points. With Knoa, you have the capability to look at these items. So Knoa is a technology that is an agent-based tool that sits on the user's desktop. And what that means is it can be the desktop, the laptop, or whatever device the user wants to experience the SAP landscape with. So what Knoa does is it's going to listen to the user's experience. So how long is it taking for the screen to respond? And how much time am I taking to look up key information or data fields? The other item is the UI or the user experience really what I expected it to be? So maybe I see in the order entry process, advocates are struggling with certain screens or fields. Normally what you do is you just hear it, right? So all you're hearing is things from the business on it's working, it's not working. So I think what the key here is with Knoa is for the first time I have data from that user's experience that I can start to analyze and understand. So I don't have to be the IT person going to the business and saying, can you show me what's going on? I can actually use Knoa and take the data and I can analyze how much time are they idling, are they using the system, are they adopting? And when you start to truly then think about TCO, you can start to drive improvements to the total cost. So when I say lowering total cost of ownership, you can start to say maybe it's important for me to drive out errors or issues and drive that TCO down. So if I talk about ROI, so return of investment, I have an interesting story. So when I implemented Knoa, we implemented the tool to look at training validation and cost. So if you think about the Knoa application, SAP UEM, being in the education space, we thought the tool was going to come in and help us validate who needed training, what errors did I need to train on. But what I found out when I implemented this in a pilot is that I had 300 users that I expected to use SAP. This location complained that the system was slow, that we didn't train them, that they didn't know what to do. There was all this pain. And from my perspective as a manager of support, it was difficult for me to validate why that pain was occurring when it wasn't occurring for other locations. So when we installed Knoa in this location, we were able to very quickly see that 300 people that were supposed to be using SAP, only 23 of them were actually transacting in the system. So even though at Go Live we had trained 300 people, the expectation was that 300 people would be doing real-time transactions within SAP with an integrated experience. So when I did a production confirmation, I needed it to occur immediately. What I saw was occurring was people were taking information, writing it down on pieces of paper, or waiting till the end of a shift to go enter in data. So what was occurring was 23 people were feeling a lot of pain. They were doing the work for 300. So we had an adoption issue. So when you start to think about return of investment, one of the things that we were able to identify is if you think about cost, even at $100 a license, and I had 23 people, about 275 were not using the system, right? So if I even round that up to 25 people from the 23 to be, safe, I still had 275 not using the system. So 275 times at $100 a user, which many of you know that license cost is going to be significantly more than the $100. But even at $100, that's a lot of money that I was leaving on the table. So when executives in my previous experience had seen this data, it was, where else is this occurring? So very quickly, a pilot that was for 300 to understand the noise in a single location became an implementation of a tool across our landscape. So the data, again, is important to help drive these key items in the business, the total cost of ownership and the ROI. What I want to show quickly here is behind me is the dashboards within the Knoa application. So I want you to get an idea of how you would get this data. And the importance about Knoa is the who, what, when, where, why, and how. So again, you're going to have this agent that's collecting data from your users. That information is going to go into a database. That database then gives you the information back in a BI report. So we don't leverage BW, where we don't take the data from our database and then put it in the business warehouse. We actually keep the database database there, and we use the Business Objects BI reporting front end to give the user the same experience. Now, normally the end user is not going to be in this dashboard. It's only going to be managers, decision makers, someone that needs to look at the data. So I'm going to show you here the what and the who and the when. So if I go to the what, you'll see here at the top SQ01. So if you go to SQ01, you can see that with SQ01, that was our highest issue. So if you look at SQ01, 179 errors were occurring. So that, again, the importance very quickly, because I didn't need to go ask the question, I had the answer. I knew where I was struggling within my organization or facility. And with user attributes in Knoa, which are customizable, I can go in with my user attributes and I can customize these to make it more sense to the business. So if you think about SAP and plant and SLOC and corporate code, you can put attributes in so that if someone asks, well, I want to know for my plant location versus another plant location, or I want to know by company code who's performing better or worse. So what this shows me is where the issue is, and from a support analyst, from someone who's trying to take care of the user, it helps you understand what you need to do next. So then if I look here, I can see the who. So now not only do I see what is the problem, I can very quickly see here that even though, as you can see over on the graph, a large population of people having issues, it's really only 2 people. So when I look at the 2 people that were having issues, Leticia needed some help. So instead of it being a location of hundreds, I see that only 2 people really are struggling within the application. So the next item I want to show is if you click on location, the where, I can see where is the issues occurring. So then from a support model, from a training module, from looking at your return of investment on training, your return of investment on the application itself, you start to look at where am I going to get the most ROI if I send people on site. So if I invest in the training and T&E to get someone to a location to training, where should I send them? So as you can see here, this was the US employee user groups. So did it make more sense to send people to the US, or should I be sending people to Brazil or to another country? So this gives you that key data very quickly to help you analyze and make some data-driven decisions. So the last note I want to talk about is Knoa. So Knoa equals knowledge. So hopefully you've learned here quickly that with the knowledge and with data-driven decisions, there's a ton of possibilities. I have hundreds of use cases. I've seen many customers use this for many different things around support, around training, around adoption, around going to Fiori and Personas and understanding your HANA landscape. It's very difficult in the SAP landscape to understand what my problem is and how do I solve it and where do I start. With Knoa, you have the data and the knowledge to help make those data-driven decisions that you can then go to your SAP and ask them for help. You can say, this is where I'm struggling, do you have a solution? So maybe it's Fiori does make sense, or maybe it's Personas makes sense, or maybe Workforce Performance Builder would help you. So with Knoa, again, it's that knowledge to help you make those decisions that are very important. Some people ask what Knoa stands for. A lot of you would hear Knoa, so you can see Knoa Knowledge. A is the accelerator. I believe Knoa stands for very many things, but it's definitely a data-driven decision. And if that's important for your company, that's the reason why Knoa is such a key tool in your SAP landscape.